Okay.
There. All right, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting of the Duvall Local Commission to order at 5:31 p.m. Can I get roll call, please? Director Miranda, would you mind doing roll call?
Yes.
If you don't have anything else, thank you.
You're fine. Commissioner Damiano? Yes. Oh, 1 second. Great. Commissioner Fraser? Commissioner Bertnicki? Here. Commissioner Hernandez?
Here,
Co-chair Hernandez, sorry. Commissioner, is it Gillette?
yeah,
Yeah.
but she's not here.
Commissioner Tozer?
Here.
And Commissioner Imberg?
We have a forum. All right, so first thing we'll do is, we'll go ahead and approve the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Is there, I would like a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion for it?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Wait a second. So noted, agenda is approved.
After the second, you'll want to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. So vote to approve the agenda. All in favor say yay.
Yay.
All not in favor say nay. Approved. I studied. All right, same with the approval of last meeting's minutes. I'd like to make a motion to approve those, or ask for a motion to approve those.
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, second? Betty, yes. So you know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Want to make sure that was set out. And a vote for that. Vote for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Approval of the minutes. All right, and finally, next business. Are there any public comments for the Cultural Commission today?
We have no one signed up for public comment.
No one signed up for public comment?
I have to get closer if you're talking to me.
I just wanted to know if you had public comment.
Public what?
Public comments for the commission.
I don't, not now. I'm trying to find out what the commission is.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure everyone's included who's here. So, new business. We have the plank project. What, from the previous meeting, or not from a previous meeting, we got a copy of the call for artists from, I believe it was back in 2007. I'd like to see about possibly using that to make a new call for artists now. But on top of that, we're also going to need to double check. We talked about this last time about how, who we wanted to be included. I don't think we came to a complete and total lockdown on that. So I'd like to have some discussion on that, see what we all agree would be a good, come on, Brent. A good vector of artists we could get. So I believe we were talking about people who are in the Snoqualmie Valley in general, ranging from all the way down to North Bend to here, or artists that could do the work in the area but may not actually create the work. So I'm up for just kind of open discussion on that. Y'all are. And I'd also, oh, yes, go ahead. I actually have three little points that I'm going to work on this. So let's go ahead and get started on the first.
So last time we discussed it and I brought up the point because I worked with it over the years in that, you know, we had created sort of criteria that was fairly narrow because of that whole idea of the history of the valley, et cetera, telling that story. But we found out in the second go around that it was very difficult to get enough artists to participate. And so someone brought up in that meeting the idea of like, oh, we could have a carver with the artist as collaboration to then create those plans, which is a nice idea. I'm thinking if you did go that route, you have to think about how you're going to pay the person because it is expensive to carve because it takes so much time. And I guess the consideration of the artist wants to be paid for the design of it. So I don't know exactly how that would work as far as how you're going to decide who gets paid what. laughing. I mean, so that would be something to consider if you do that, but also then if you expand the scope to say any artist can participate as long as they follow the criteria of the valley story, the culture of the art telling the story of the valley, then perhaps you could open it up to a wider pool of artists. I think at this point, we have really established the look with those planks. And sort of, we have the planks, before we didn't have any planks, so it was hard to know and gauge. But now that you have all these planks, you could easily show them to any artist and say, listen, here's the criteria, this is what we're looking for, here's an example. And then opening it up, you wouldn't have any strange art coming, submitted that doesn't, it's not relevant to your community. So maybe opening it up to a wider audience is fine. And I think that's my comment about that.
Are you sure?
No, that's a lot of good points there. I'm actually, I would prefer it to be a local artist, but we would run kind of tight with that, would be the number of people who'd be here for that. If we opened it up and said the plank is our template, this is what you need to use. And this is where, not the plank as a template, but the entire project, our previous project as a template. We could definitely open it up. I don't know though that we could, I would prefer to actually have local artists over expanded artists, but I don't think we can tier them like that, unfortunately. It's either all or nothing. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So, just a point of where you could actually create a scoring rubric where you would potentially give a higher score to a local artist, or you would score a little higher, an artist that stuck more closely to the story of the valley, or submitted a proposal that really reflected an engagement with a local Native Peoples tribe. So you can create a rubric that would score certain proposals higher than others.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. Yeah, I'm so sorry about the.
Oh, no apologies.
For the,
Offering a point of, kind of clarification that you could, you can create scoring matrix that place value over, different items of a proposal.
actually think that's an incredibly good idea, because that way we could limit it locally and then say, well, we don't have enough, let's open it up to everyone. And it would still be fair, because if we have the rubric that says, hey, here's where we're going.
Also, I think it's important that we talk about which story of the valley, right? Because we've got a settler story, but we've also got a native story.
That is actually something that I have here for the second point,
Okay.
because that is actually something very close to that I want to have a native narrative as well. The second point that I have here, unless anyone else has any.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, I was right on the same page with that. Again, I think you can add bonus points to call it what you will. If you have 100-point scoring matrix and there's preference points, 10 for local artists or something like that, that would be adequate. Because then their art still has to perform. So you could still find out-of-town artists that are just have better work,
Mhm.
but you're giving a local artist a chance to please.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So the next point that I have here on this, and this is something that we may want to do for the next meeting, I've already have a plan, so something along those lines, would be about assigning a point person to this project, someone who would directly contact the Snoqualmie tribes, directly start making the call for artists. They could create a subcommittee so that they're not just on their own of any of our members. But definitely assign a point person for that. I was going to hold a vote for that, but considering 3 of our members are out, we might want to push that off until the next meeting. And I'd like to do that for actually every single one of our action items on the Excel sheet, so that we all have something that's, we're all working on moving forward for, because time is going to pass a lot faster than we think it's going to. So I'd love to do that, but that would be, I'd like to have that for the next meeting when there's more people. Any discussion on that?
So I have worked with the tribes before in 2 different projects. So if we do go to with that, I'd be very interested. But if there's somebody who's more appropriate, that would be fine too.
I'll be honest, I had you in my.
Oh.
Yeah. But like I said, I would have done a vote here if we had a few more people, but we'll do that next time, decide who will head that. And I'd like, again, to do that with all of our projects, to have a head person for that. So that we basically get together, do what we need to do with the subcommittee, then bring it to the council in general, then here, or the commission in general, and then take that to city council if necessary, if we need to.
And I guess to what end is that involvement? Are people envisioning, out of curiosity, what involvement is the consultation with the tribe? Is it for every plank? Is it for some of them? As many as they want? I guess what's the end of that?
So the reason that I would love to talk with them about this is just to make sure that they're included,
Okay.
but they would be covered under the rubric as well. And we could actually create a third tier for them, saying, you know, we could probably give them the highest priority because they are the most underrepresented right now. But we definitely want to get stories from them and possible artists who would be able to do this. And we would want to contact someone directly. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Burnett.
And well, the city can also assist with that. So like, for instance, your call for artists. Once you all decide what the scope of the call for artists is, we'll create that for you and bring it back so that you can then just vote on the document. You don't have to create that. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
So as long as we get direction from the commission, we can help produce the documents so that you all just have them in your packet and you can vote on them as you wish.
So are you saying we could create the rubric?
We can create the rubric for you. You just tell us what you want in it and we'll prepare it for you, include it in the next packet.
That would be great.
That'd be good.
I would definitely appreciate that.
Do we want to do that or not?
Do I have a motion to actually ask the city to do this, to create the rubrics?
I'll make a motion. Yes, yeah, please. What you said.
All voting for it, yay.
Yay.
Any against, nay? The ayes have it.
Was there a-
What are some of the particulars though? We need to discuss some of the particulars we want to happen.
The only main three that I have in mind, and again, this is open discussion for this, the only main three I have in mind would be tribal sources, local sources, anyone else.
Yeah, there's also the art itself.
Right.
What's the story that's being told? You know.
Oh, in general.
Yeah, they're talking about the whole scoring matrix. So the other scoring items are, you know, feasibility. Does it work with our downtown, the story, the actual piece, some of those things. I think those are some other bits we have to.
Yeah, that's something that we would definitely want to look at. And one of my things on that would be to look at our previous plans as a template and as, as a template and basically saying we would like it in this format, but in the art itself, while we would like it in the same style, is whatever you need to do. Assuming that you would all agree.
I would say, because, you know, every artist has a different look and style, but I would say probably to me what's important is the narrative that the pieces will be talking about. And whatever the commission has decided is important in that narrative. When we did start, it was a narrative of the whole Snoqualmie Valley, which of course included the tribes and that history. And then along that line was, you know, the river, the flora, the fauna, the animals, the nature aspect of the valley. And then we also included in the history of, like, there's the logging industry and then there's the farming. And so in the last go around, there seemed to be a lot of narrative built on that period of, I guess, logging, timber, farming, that sort of thing. In the original, what was interesting was in the narrative, we had incorporated not just from the very beginnings, you know, ancient, but all the way through to also the unique character of this town with its unique stories, you know, the piano drop and various pictures that people brought that were historical pictures from the past that were pretty much inscribed on the benches. You see one on the bench where all the people's legs are dangling. That was during the time when we had little piers that went out into the river. So I thought that was really interesting as well. So when you talk about the narrative, you could incorporate a lot of different things.
Absolutely. There are more stories than just stories. There are things to do. There are literally cultural items that kid going down to the river and fishing is just as important as some of the other stories out there. So I would be okay with something like that, if the council or the commission's okay with that, we could add that to the list of things that we would allow for them to work on. I don't know if we would want a tiered rubric for that, so that we don't end up with like 15 kids fishing, or, 100, different, 100 of different types of flowers and stuff, so I don't know if we would want to create a rubric for that. But I mean, I think we could do that just by individual choice of saying, well, this is something, we've got too many of this type of stuff. So we could do something like that. Basically, once we get the call for artists and the art comes in, we start looking at it and saying, okay, this one does it, this one.
Well, and also your rubric will reflect what's in the revised art policy, which is, there's a pretty comprehensive criteria in there on, is it feasible, like all the practical pieces too, we would put into the rubric. So, I think you could have, an extra elevated 10 points or something like that for, is the art reflective of a story that is accessible and meaningful to the residents of the valley? Making sure that it is relevant and specific, because, a child fishing could be anywhere in Washington,
Sure.
or anywhere near a body of water, so.
That's a good point.
So we can come up with something and bring it to the next meeting and have you all look at it and iterate off of it, and then we can revise it if needed, and then put it as a final in your next meeting packet, and we can vote it.
Right there, or add it to the previous one.
Yeah, and if I could recommend too, there's 1.3.1 probably has exactly a lot of the main criteria we would want. So I mean, it has a lot of the storytelling, but then we could add those additional factors of, tribal or local benefits, or something like that. But that has a lot of the actual artistic value and merit and appropriate for the community, the public have enduring value, all sorts of, has some other stuff that might be useful.
Mhm.
And we can play around with number values or values of the different categories.
So, anything further from anyone else?
Should we, because it's not a usual medium, it's wood, should we have something, in the scoring about whether they've worked in this meeting before? Because I can imagine it might be very challenging for especially young artists and a lot of young people.
That would definitely need something, we want to have someone who's experienced that. And we may actually just want to make that part of the call for artists. We don't want to say no to any artist who wants to bring in, but we do definitely want them to be qualified to make these blanks. So something that we might also want to consider is having a piece of art that maybe we could hand to someone who could do it. But that we get into a weird kind of cost thing where who gets paid what for what they've done.
Well, and also, I mean, everybody needs to do their first project.
That
We
is
just want to make sure we don't end up with someone who, says, yes, I can do this, and then shows,
right.
I can't, or maybe just have a plan for that. It's a way to maybe mentor someone who does that.
We did do that. We did do that.
Oh, yeah?
We did have like mentoring. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So it can, there's a lot of times people like that.
They really are.
Yeah, and we had to do that, but nicely.
Is the dollar figure still in the 5,000 per plank range per set or something like that? Is that the idea?
Right, so I think, I don't have my binder with me, I think the total project is 50,000. So I'll work with Director Lanchevsky to figure out how much of that is the price for the fee to the artists, and how much of that project cost is installation. So I have to figure out what the installation costs are, I think fairly minor. Take that off the top, and then I say that,
Yeah.
but.
Usually, but I think before it's the artist, it's the installation. Can be very.
You're right.
Depending on how you run.
So, and he might have installation already budgeted outside of the 50,000, so I think. If I recall, I think the 50,000 might have been for the planks themselves, and everything else would come out of a different budget line, which would then be, roughly about 5,000 a piece.
So just so I can remember, is that 5,000 because there are two boards that go up?
Yeah.
That's kind of.
Do that.
That's why you have that note.
Sorry, I heard all that in front of.
Hoping to some last minute for work today. Listen, we'll be hearing about it in 15 minutes.
Alright, so from our next steps on this, what we'd like to do is get the rubrics and get a call for artists. Is there any other next steps that we can think of so that we can get prepared for this?
I think we-
Good start for that? Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and close that one out and go on to the next issue, which is the Pride Flag project. I've actually, I've mentioned, I want to get this up for Pride. I was very much to do that.
Did we miss the decision finding for Old Planks?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, there was a third item on the agenda. I'm sorry about that. I kind of folded that into the first one, which would be, or not the first one, but in the second one, I just didn't talk about it, where we need to find out what the artist would consider offensive. Because, making benches out of them may not be what they want. So we may want to contact the original artists and say, hey, we're not decommissioning, we're changing the purpose of this, and we'd like to know what you would like done with them. Because we would like X, Y, Z, we want benches, we want welcome stations, whatever we want to do with that. And just make sure it's amenable by them. That's at least my point of view on that. I'm up for any further discussion on that. You have ideas?
Well, when we did the first go of it, the artists all understood they no longer own that, it was public art, it belonged to the city, so they kind of, were fine with whatever we chose to do with it would be fine, as I recall, all the different artists that worked on it. You know, if you decide you're gonna make it to bench, it was the back part. So I don't see if the design works. I mean, most of those make work for now because they're all vertical.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine utilizing them that way. But I don't think they would, any of them would have any problem with that.
Do we want to contact them and make sure? We can go, if I would like to do that, but we don't need to do that, is what I'm hearing. And if that's okay with the council, it's okay with me.
I think I'd be comfortable with it, just personally. I think that some of the ones are gonna be very difficult to contact as well.
Right.
I know that some of them are no longer in this area.
That's
You know, the other, I'm not sure the status of some of the others, but, yeah, I think it can be challenging. You know, unless we were gonna do something really wacky with it.
All right, then I'm okay with that as well. Anyone else have any opinions on that? Let's go ahead and do that. What did you? Yeah. So, we will just. Bear with me while I write some notes here. Are we all set to go on to the next thing? So the ribbon project. I would like to get this up to Pride if at all possible. So I kind of want to fast track this a little bit. What I'd like to see about is getting the flag up to Pride, find probable locations. We have a couple of good ones that I know of. And what do we need for mounting this project? Right off the bat, does anyone have any good location ideas for where you would like to have something like the ribbon installation? If you know what the ribbon installation looks like, if not, I can describe it to you.
Yeah, what is trying to be accomplished, I guess.
So what the artist is putting up is the ribbon wall that was up over by the Valley Mail, but doing it through us this time. It would be a small square, or not a small square, but a good sized rectangle mounted up on a building or somewhere that we could provide as a permanent fixture, showing a pride flag made out. Administrative events.
So in thinking about locations, because this is the city's sponsorship of the art project, the locations are really limited to city buildings.
Okay.
So it would be the mayor's expression of having a pride installation. And so really when you're thinking about locations, the locations need to be a city building for her expression of that art. So which leaves this building here, City Hall, the rec center, and the Public Works building.
I believe one of the locations we scouted out was a blank wall on City Hall.
Yes.
at the corner of Maine and I believe it's Virginia. Stella. I swear I lived there. That would be a really, really good location for it. It's got a lot of traffic area. It's high visibility. Someplace that would definitely, it has some blockages there with the information kiosk there, but if you're walking by it, you're 2 steps away from seeing it. If anyone knows of any other city locations where we could put something.
Is this meant to be a permanent installation, or is it only for a month? Is it coming down? What is the idea? behind
The artist wants it for a permanent installation.
it? We selected an artist,
Yes,
Well, they donated.
they donated the art piece.
but we haven't run a process.
I'm sorry,
We haven't run a process for selection.
not for this, as it was a donated piece and, we're putting it up as a.
My recommendation is that we start in the selection process.
I think this case is special because this is the piece that the city took down.
Yeah.
Right, without consulting the artist, so I think it's also kind of a conciliatory gesture that.
Is that in the
Sorry,
policy? Or?
I don't think it's in policy, I just know that there was the ribbon flag that, the Duvall
Yeah.
people put up, and then it was taken down because of the
lack of the art policy.
well, the lack of the art policy, but also the hate speech that was associated with it being there. So it kind of got taken down, and I think it was just, no, was it really decided? I don't know.
It was taken down because they didn't have a sign policy, essentially. It was a private installation on public,
Oh,
property.
but then was it decided that the installation would go back up? Did the mayor decide that? Who made that decision? I mean, I love the decision.
Doesn't sound like there was a decision made.
The mayor the mayor is willing for the cultural commission to decide to reinstall the ribbons at city property as an expression of her, interest in reflecting, pride in the community.
So it would have been those specific ribbons that were already donated to us by the artist, which is why we haven't had a process on this. The artist came to us and we have accepted it. So, that's why there was no process like a call for artists.
So, yeah, my recommendation would be to follow policy. If we want to have an art installation, we should follow the policy, do a call for artists, evaluate it, make some decisions. I don't even know if depending on the location, I guess, we'd have to see if it's.
But that seems so, if you're going to do a call for artists, but this is a donated piece, how does that work?
Is there more approval of the donated piece versus creating a whole?
Is that in here though?
Well, no, I want to be clear. So the policy does not cover donated art wholesale. So the materials for the piece have been donated to the city. We could do a call for artists per the policy that includes, just like the planks, you must use these materials. So the city has bought planks for the plank project. The artist must use, whichever artist is chosen, must use the planks. Very similarly, the ribbons that the city has must be used in whatever installation is put on city property.
Okay. That makes sense, like being able to take the ribbons, which is the medium, so to speak, and then opening it up to the public call for artists to then say, here's the materials and make artwork.
Right, so kind of similar to the plank project, we know where the new planks are going to be. So the first, I think, decision point here is recommending a location so that we could follow policy and, kind of very similarly, a call for artists can be a criterion, a rubric. We would certainly, I think, give preference to an artist who's already handled the material. But you would need a location. So I think part of this commission is helping figure out a location. We have the medium, and then we would go through the policy and, it doesn't have to be an elaborate call for artists for this.
So it's conceivable we could have this in time to file.
But
So
absolutely.
it worked out pretty fast.
And the mayor would support prioritizing this and having it for pride.
So it seems as though near City Hall where it has, people can see it, could be a possible situation.
I don't know if that's right.
I think that's the lovely location for it.
If anyone else has any ideas on it, please, we can at least get that.
Well, City Hall's a spot, but we thought to make sure it's sound and a certain something like that.
Well, we've looked at the materials that are needed to place it on City Hall, and our Public Works Director has found material that we could put on City Hall and create that art piece thing. So from a practical perspective, we've already site scoped that, we've already looked at the material that could go on City Hall. It is, I think, a fairly simple project to implement.
And again, I just want to understand, just so I know where we're going, what we're doing. How have we done the community input portion of this and policy as well?
I believe the community input would have been along the lines of, and I'm not sure if this would count for us, the request for, or the public comment from the, I believe it was August 19th meeting of City Council, as well as much of public comment afterwards and for, and from there to here. There was a lot of approval. There was disapproval as well.
It was,
But there was far more approval for this. That, I feel, gives us the public comment that we need to say that we should probably put this back.
that is one way to look at it, yes, I agree. Again, my take on some of this is just about, are we creating consistent policy? There was other items donated that event that were taken down. Certainly some people would not like to see back up, right? So those become donations that then have to be shown somewhere else. If somebody asked of that, I don't think that's what we want to do, as long as what anybody wants to do, but how are we creating a path that makes sense, is logical, that somebody else can follow, that makes sense. And again, I think if we go back and we start the policy, we start art selection at step one and we walk through, well, then maybe that's the correct way.
So Commissioner Bridges.
Were any of the other materials removed from the fence art pieces, or were they just pre-existing flags and such?
Yeah, if it got more vandalism.
I would imagine it depend on the person. Art is different to everybody.
So from the city's perspective and the mayor's perspective, the material other than the ribbons was not recreated, repurposed, or used in a way to express an artistic viewpoint.
Did the artists who left the other materials ever reach out to the city and indicate they were being donated?
No, we offered multiple opportunities for those folks to either collect their material or to notify the city that it was theirs and offer an intent. And the only person we heard from was the owner of the ribbons.
Commissioner Bridges.
So, I'm sorry, I missed out on a lot of whatever you guys are discussing. I'm just stepping in fairly new and fresh here into this conversation, but as an artist myself, and one who supports artists, the expression of art, to me, especially in America, is something that is free to do. And it seems as though maybe what we're talking about is the type of art that's trying to be expressed. And there seems to be some reservation about that. And so that, are we saying that maybe we don't want to put it up? Is that what's kind of going on around here somewhere? Because, was the problem? Because I wasn't in that meeting, but apparently there was a meeting and people voiced their concerns or their opinions. And I think that as a community, because I love to build community, I think as a community, the whole community, majority supporting something like this, then I would want to make sure to answer their call and give them what they are asking for in regards to that ribbon. I don't know, I haven't been in any of these discussions, but it seems to me that there was an overwhelming support. I mean, I'm very familiar with the rainbows and such because my students are all in this community, and so they are a community as well. So I'm just trying to understand if there's something else happening in this discussion, because I think putting up the art piece like that, where if the community says, yes, we want that, would be a positive for the community. And it is a community building. And so I see like it being upfront and saying to those out there, yes, welcome. This is a representation, just like planks represent maybe tribal culture, our nature and the logging and all of that. That's how I see this community, you know? So that's just my comment.
Oh, no, good comment, good comment, yes.
So I think a proper process would be to have this commission create a proposed project with a location using the medium as it exists. This is a recommending body to council and the mayor. In this case, it's the mayor's expression of her viewpoint in the city, which she's entitled to do. And so what you would then do is put together a proposal. This body would vote it. And that vote to either yay, recommend the proposed project to the mayor, or nay, don't propose this project to the mayor. And then the mayor would take that recommendation and decide what to do with it. This falls, you know, the biennial art plan is really tied to the budget, about asking for budget money to do a particular project. If it's an unbudgeted project and doesn't have an attachment to funds needing to be paid for that project, it's outside of the council appropriations project. So really, this is a recommending body to the mayor to ask the mayor whether or not she would consider doing a project, and that would be your process for this.
Any further discussion?
How elaborate does the proposal have to be? I mean, could we just draft it now?
Probably
Also, that's more, it's money, so we probably have to discuss what the cost would be.
What we
Estimated
can-
cost would be.
What we may want to do in our next meeting, and if we probably won't need to, because I have a feeling this is going to be a lot of discussion, is to find out what we want for this project at the next meeting. How we can present that to the city council. And it may just be like a generic, we would like a pride project on this location at this time. Here are some proposals. We don't have any proposals with us other than the one that's already been given to us. So we may want to skip that one and then possibly do a call for artists if they approve something like that. That way we can at least say, we've got the yes for this. Let's open it up and do a rubric for that as well, preferably. I will again say I would prefer to have the original artist on there as they were the one who donated the ribbon. But we can create a rubric for that and decide what we want. Something we might want to do is go ahead and table this discussion for the next meeting and think about those locations. Again, it has to be city property. I'm really big on these sidewall hit City Hall. Unless we're all in agreement that that's where it should go.
I am, but. Nothing else. We had to vote on it.
Yeah, that's something that we can do. We'll go ahead.
Oh, I was saying we could vote on it next session.
Yeah, we can look around. We'll give us a week to look around and see what we need to do. And then we can also think about how we want to do the proposal. We can discuss that at the same time, as well as the home funds. So I'd like to go ahead and then table this until the next meeting.
Might I suggest that city staff provide a template for you?
absolutely.
For a project plan?
Will there be preference points or something again for utilizing? That's what if you have an artist wants to see.
Well, just like the planks, the city has the medium that we would like used for this project.
But yes, we would definitely like that.
Yeah, we can create a template for this that you all can kind of plug in and make it a little easier for you.
So at our next meeting, our next steps will be to determine locations for this project, as well as criteria for how we want to, if we're gonna open it up to artists, let's go ahead and make that criteria and decide what we can do with that. Start putting together some kind of presentation. So we'll do that for the next steps.
I like this commission here.
It helps when you have staff support for the committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something.
One more, one right on. Anything further on this discussion? No. Okay, we will move to our unfinished business, which is the election of a chair. We are again not all here, so do we want to actually move this forward to the next meeting, or do we want to do it now?
Right.
I move that we vote on this.
A second.
Second. Would you like to vote for a chair today? I'll say yay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I meant to say nay. But the yeas have it, so we will go ahead and do that. First, right off the bat, we have anyone who wishes to nominate themselves for chair?
Can we nominate Jen for, to be moved to chair
Yes,
and then an election of co-chair?
yes, which is what I was waiting for because I wanted to make sure anyone else who wanted the nomination would be able to say it first.
No,
I nominate myself for chair,
You really said that.
do my best.
And you leave.
I wanted to nominate Diane for motion.
No, I was gonna nominate Jen.
Well, there you
All right, so,
sounds unanimous.
shall we vote on it? All those who want me as chair, go ahead and say yay.
Yay.
All of those who don't, nay. Passes unanimously. Now, the co-chair position is vacant, so we should go ahead and see about voting for that. Do we have anyone who would like to volunteer for that position?
Fine with it. If anybody else wants to do it, I would happily, let them do it.
We'll say this is very good at organizing.
We'll take that as a volunteer. No one-
Okay.
Shall we vote for it? And all those who want to have this as co-chair?
Yeah.
All those who want Commissioner DA not as co-chair? Ayes have it.
And Alyssa, will you please pronounce how you want your last name pronounced?
EA.
Yay, okay.
Congratulations, co-chair DA.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Paul.
Finally, and I don't know if this is actually something that was sent, I mentioned, I sent an email to Mr. Clerk, Clerk Roberto, about, the signage, the park signage. Did you receive that by any chance? I'd love to share that to you all and see what you all think, just for general discussion, if you want to send it along to the Parks Department. These are the mock-ups for a park.
Could you give me just 1 second?
Oh, no problem. Just generally, just to discuss it, these are mock-ups that I created for the, for park signage. As I mentioned before, I have a bit of a hobby when it comes to road signs and road, construction. Figured I'd give it a shot just to see if there was something that we wanted to give them. So,
She's gonna order it.
I'm sorry.
You know what our next meeting is? It's kind of set up on.
Wasn't it?
It's the first and third Mondays?
Oh, yeah.
Or, no, second and third. Mondays.
Second and fourth, I think.
Second and fourth, thank you. I knew there was a pattern to it.
Trying to make it opposite council.
It's been a very busy day.
And of course, once we, like I mentioned before, once we gel, I'd like to see about changing the schedule. That is the future, so forever. Oh, the thought didn't come from me.
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Oh, I did it. That's the thing. This is only my second PowerPoint presentation I've ever made. I did a cute font and everything.
This looks fun. If you hadn't said anything about that.
Oh, my goodness. I think we got it.
Okay, so basically, I just did the discussion that would have been the first frame, so go ahead and go to the second one. Oh, yeah, definitely. I promise you, I will make better PowerPoint presentations when I learn how the font system works on it. So the prerequisites for the signage based on the previous presentation by Director Lenichowski. Our current signage lacks showcasing the park system, consistency, location names, and park features. Essentially, it's missing a branding. Go ahead and go to the next one. And in his previous presentation, he laid out considerations for the new signage that would definitely need the name, the features of the park, and the logo. He also created a mock-up on the right side of the Big Rock Park. What our signage would look like in the Big Rock Park, basically based off of this one, which I believe is from Michigan. But we need to have our own style, our own color palettes, and our own symbology.
I like, there's a giraffe.
Most will fall apart.
Well, unfortunately, that's not mine. So,
Yeah. Go ahead, that's what we saw.
go to the next frame.
Looks great.
Yeah. I went with the Mythbuster
It's
style.
subtle, but.
I went with the Mythbuster style. Okay, so, I should have sent a PDF as well. The PDF will work, because I knew there would be an issue, so I did send a PDF.
Smart way to go.
The joys of working on a Linux system, making stuff for Windows.
You did your homework.
I did well, I used to work in Virginia. Again, sorry about the mix up there. When we get our hardware, I will be using our hardware.
Yeah, clip. Shut a couple of-
I believe it's slide 3.
Just 1 second.
Okay, great.
Next one.
Next one, slide 4. So these are the 3 that I came up with. They are essentially large, medium, and small signages, as well as 2 different designs for the signage. Basically, these are what I'd like to see out there. Go ahead and go to the next picture. So what we did was I tried to make a branding of the signage. It uses 3 colors in the city logo. It locks on to the brown, which is what highway signs tend to use for parks anyway. The green being for logo, putting down the logo of the city of Duvall on there, mainly because it's mostly a green logo to begin with. And the blue stripe at the bottom for putting what features this park has. I specifically put, in this case, Judd Park, and then the type of park that it was, playground. Sure, you can see it from the road, but say Taylor Landing, you're not sure exactly what it has because you can't see the park from where it is. The blue is actually also supposed to be the Snoqualmie River, so I put all the recreation items down there. I like them both, both with the river background, which is the top one, or the separator background, which is the bottom one. So I've decided just to let you all decide which, or let the Parks Department decide which one to go with, unless we all have an idea about what we want to go with.
I was strong for the top of these 2 choices anyway.
I'm a big fan of that top. I like the bottom one just because it looks kind of cool, but the top one, I really like, and it uses the river background from the logo itself.
Yeah, I do like the river background.
I like the river background. I'm not wild about that shade of brown. Is that?
The reason for the shade of brown is both so that it looks like a park sign, like a standard federal FHWA park sign, but it also uses the brown color from the logo. So we're trying to keep it to the 3 colors plus a pop color.
Then maybe the green rather than the blue? So
Right.
it flashes to my eye. Oh,
It's possible. I did do a green mock-up, but it turns the sign very muddy. It becomes muddy. And the idea is to make it clear and something that we can see. So while it flashes, it does pop and say, okay, well, we'll get into it with the next sign. Go ahead and go into the next one. Slide 6.
sorry.
So there's 3 sizes, and these, when I talked about why we want to have that popping blue, the Taylor Landing sign is at the very top. It has a lot of white space. The city logo is somewhat smaller to be less distracting. The idea being is that people are driving by Taylor Landing at 50 miles an hour, dropping down to 30. They're not going to have a lot of time to see the sign, nor do they have time to sit there and determine exactly what everything there is. So there's a lot of white space that will attract your eye, or brown space in this case, that attracts your eye directly to the title and what kind of park it is. So if you want to turn in at 45 miles per hour, you at least have warning of what it is and what it's doing. The mid-size sign, which is the Judd Park sign, is for street signs or for street viewing. say you're like the road right directly in front of Judd Park, which I believe is, Brewitt Avenue, I believe it is. This is something where you have a little more time, you're at a stop sign, you see a park over there, what's that park? Oh, it's Judd Park. And it's got seesaws and it's ADA compliant. And again, we moved the branding down to the bottom so that the Judd Park sign stands out. The very bottom one is Lake Rasmussen. It's the smallest sign, and these are for our more tucked away parks. The tucked away parks are kind of like parks you stumble across. We want to have a sign there that matches our other signage, but it should be small and unobtrusive. The only reason that I put the blue on the left is when you have something that small and unobtrusive, you don't have a lot of room for the features. Go ahead and go, next slide. That's all he's done.
Sorry.
These are what the real world applications would look like, and it would look better if I zoomed in a little bit on them. But the Taylor Landing one shows that it's a little billboardy, but I may have done that a bit too. It could probably stand to be smaller. But that's what it would look like going by it at 45 miles an hour. Very clear, right there. We may even want to put an arrow pointing towards the park. The Judd Park one, the top right, would be what it looks like at a stop sign. So you can see the park, you can see the name pretty clearly from both angles, maybe not from the angle it's coming from, but at that point you're looking right at the park. The bottom left and the bottom right are the Lake Rasmussen signs, which would be much smaller signage. Very unobtrusive, just something like, oh, hey, there's a park here, and this is what that park is. The bottom right one shows that we would have what the signage would look like in a neighborhood setting from far away, where it's still unobtrusive, but you can definitely see it and say, oh, there's a park right here. Slide 8. Now they are square signage. They're not die cut like the mock-up that we have. The reason I've done that is, as I said, I'm a big hobbyist on highway signs and highway usage. And we had some pretty weird signs in the 60s that didn't age very well. The big rock one looks really cool right now, but we're not sure if it's going to look cool in 20 years. And these signs are designed to be 20, 30 years old. The bottom one, the Talladega National Forest, is what national park signs used to look like in the 60s. They were all replaced in the 80s, and finding this one was not easy. There's still one out there. And it doesn't look very, very modern. It very much looks like a sign of its times. And that's why I went with a square look instead of the die cut look. We could create die cut if they wanted to, but that is why I went with square signage instead of die cuts.
Do we know what the cost difference between the die cut versus square signage would be?
I would assume it would be less because there's less waste and we don't actually have to die cut. Square is going to be much easier than doing a die cut or a laser cut. But we would leave that to Director Lomachevsky. As these are just mock-ups, if he wants to do die cut, that would be it. These are just a recommendation of what I would like to see or what we would like to see.
We go back to slide 6 real quick. Yeah. I have, first of all, I think this is actually pretty great. The one thing I think we have a chance to make that blue look kind of like a river. Which is kind of central to our valley, which might be kind of neat.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing I worry about is that the white on brown for the icons may fade. With the white, the fading leaves less contrast.
That's true.
So those are my only criticisms. Otherwise,
Yeah, idea of making the blue at the bottom look more like a river. You specifically said that blue was to represent the river. I mean,
And for me, when I designed this, I was thinking about possibly tinting the river fade out at the very top blue. But I wasn't really happy with it. And I think the river is actually represented by that logo.
yeah, I like the look.
If we decide to make the blue into a more river looking shape, it invites a lot more detail and it's not as easy to read on a quick snap for at least the Taylor Landing. The smaller Lake Rasmussen's one, possibly so, but then we run into issues of size where we need to find out what the thickness of that blue band would be and how, depending on how small the sign is, how small the icons are going to end up if we try to make it look more to it.
yeah, if you go back to slide 8, sorry, so
No, by all means,
Yeah.
what this is here for.
If you look here, the white, the black and white pops, it's gonna be as contrasted as possible for the life of the thing. So, I might suggest a slightly lighter blue with black icons. If you want to do black and white, or white on black, I would love to see that and see what that looks like.
I would agree that, yeah, I would remove the blue and go with the brown you've chosen is actually a type of red. And so that with the white and the black might be an area of combination for the eye to see. I feel is the blue, because you know, some people are colorblind blue, that can be very hard to know.
I like that strip of blue at the top of this, like, that could represent the river as well. Just a thought, so things to think of.
No problem. I can make another mock-up with that. Thankfully, I didn't do the source files.
You know me, I like asymmetry in the design, so I'm always gonna lean towards irregular shapes.
And the highway person in me is just like, you don't want to do that at 60 miles an hour.
No, that's
No problem. So would we want to send this to Director Lanichewski, or would you like me to rework it and then send it? Or do you all have ideas for what you would like to send?
I just would like to see it with the combination of white, the red, which is the brown, reddish brown, sienna, with black. As the icons, I think would be the clearest and best combination visually of color.
So black on a white strip?
Yes, and then keeping within the sienna color, removing the blue and seeing how that translates.
Keep it with the sienna color.
The sienna is the brown is the sienna, which is a version of red.
And how is that gonna fade over time? Because these have got to last 30 years.
They won't last 30 years. Everything gets replaced.
And in this environment, no.
Yeah,
It'll be moss green within like 10 years.
and
Yeah,
this is,
if we would put it on a capital project plan, that's about 6 years. They'd probably be replaced every 6 to 10 years.
You know, they make those banners in those cities, those long clock banners.
Yeah.
They have to be replaced almost every 2 years. Yeah.
No problem. I would go ahead and rework it. And does anyone else have any ideas? Like we have the sienna instead of brown, and to use a black icons on a white strip. Any other suggestions?
one of their ideas, I don't know if it's slide 6 or 7, whatever. One of those. So I still think you have a possibility then of getting your regular shape, which I think would also be actually really attractive. Just by cutting off you can profile the mountains of the hills. That's the top.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be my other recommendation. So it's actually getting some contour.
Mountain line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that would at least,
That's actually.
that would give it something a little bit different. I don't think you really want that rectangle.
And I would suggest maybe trying it with the blue from the city logo
For the.
rather than the sienna. No, just swap out the sienna. I don't know why the sienna doesn't work for me. But
The only
yeah,
reason-
and then it would have the blue on the river up top as well, right? And that design in the back. And then with the black and white strip on the bottom with the, with the landmarks.
I will say the only reason I went with these colors was to create that branding with the city logo. I'm happy to change them if you all want me to. I think that was my reasoning behind that.
Yeah, I like the use of the colors from the city logo, at least personally, but. Is it legal for me to collaborate with her, like go over this weekend and?
Oh, yeah, of course, as long as
Like
you
some
don't
ideas.
have, quorum.
Well, that won't show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's not- in which case I don't have enough food to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard also like some folks liked the thin blue stripe, like to,
Which is funny, because one of the designs I had the blue and a thin green stripe.
I feel like the more color, the more I'm gonna like it. Just, I even like things that pop with a lot.
I mean, like when you do the forest, any kind of forest service type stuff, it's all the dark blue with the white, I think, is what I use it for signage, wherever I go. So, yeah, the lesser the color, the easier it is for the person to read. Yeah.
Can we also, on your next presentation of these, can we get a, compliance filter?
That would actually be really awesome, yes.
Thank you. Mention that.
Well, and I will convey Director Lanishevsky's appreciation for how quickly you all tackled this, because he, as he said, is not a stylist, but absolutely would like to move forward with this project.
If I can just say something real quick, if this actually gets done as a sign, you have made a little 6-year-old kid very much. It's a weird hobby, but it was my hobby. So when he brought this up, I was just like trying not to cheer as hard as I can.
Oh, it's like me and when they talk about drainage management.
So I'll go ahead and do more kids for our discussions. I'll make several different mock-ups and we'll compare them to these. So
The mountain cutting out the plastic.
I think that's what I've written down here. So we'll do another one and then we'll see about giving that over to him, once we finally agree on what we'd like to submit for him.
Do we want to use the one from the logo, or do we want to actually get an image of the mountains, like from the edge of town?
More detail is more,
That's true.
It's also more expensive.
yeah. And which one? You can see right here.
Over here on the way to the road, that gorgeous view of the mountains over the, beyond the pass.
So any further discussion on this before we close this one out? Our next step for that will just be for me to rework it, show it to you.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
I did a lot of work, and I'm so sorry that I'm like, I like the grant.
No. This is a collaborative effort.
First drafts exist for feedback. Which
Alright.
I say, do it again, do it right. Sorry, I didn't realize like in the transcript of this meeting, that's going to sound horrible.
Yes, it is.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, it is. Our final, thing for the night is the good of the order. Does anyone have anything they would like to just talk about, pertaining to stuff that we're doing here? Stuff that they've done that they think would be good for the commission to know about? Sorry. Oh, listen.
Laptops.
We are hoping ETA Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they at least come in physically?
No. Our vendor is having challenges, so we went with a different vendor who has committed to delivering them hopefully on Wednesday.
I think we will feel a lot better if we were on.
I absolutely agree.
I just have one, question. So the old plans, did we decide how we're moving forward with that at all?
So what I have here for the old ones. Where did I put that page? My next step for the planks that I have here are to get the rubrics from the city as well as the call for artists. That's all that I have that we're looking for the next year, unless you, or for the next meeting, unless you have something that you would like to add to that.
Oh, no, I think.
Last time we discussed mounting them like 4 to a pole in different parks around town.
Yeah.
And I'd love to follow up on that discussion.
Okay, so you weren't here for that, you want to just reopen that up for discussion?
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, photo.
So the cubes.
It's all discussion. I think.
That's something that we can consider, yeah. Add that to the consideration, that they don't have to just be the 2 planks, it can be cubes, we can add that as part of the, like, this description of what we're trying to do.
Oh, I think we want to be clear that the new plane project has a location.
Yeah.
Oh,
For the whole
This
plan.
is for the old planes.
Decommissioned, yeah.
The decommissioned planes, one of the things we discussed was taking the old planes, creating a cube and putting them in all of our parks with potentially a description or a QR code on that prior project. And so, from the city's perspective, what we're looking for is a recommendation to the city on what you would like to do with the old planks. If you want to take up that as a possibility, we could do it, at the same time as we launch new signage in the park. As one idea, and have, each park have a celebration, that's one idea. But what we're looking for is where you would like to put the old planks so that we can get them out of storage and make them part of the city's art culture. So, that's what we're looking for, is a recommendation on what to do with them.
You want to go ahead and set that up for our next meeting, or do you feel there's enough, information we can talk about that now?
Can we discuss it now?
Okay, let's go ahead and reopen that, and let's, discuss it.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of, we talked about this last time, the hidden plank, which is to put a plank, still in a park, Taylor, like, not the Taylor, oh, I think it's Taylor Park over here where the ravine is.
So down the street.
Put one there just to have one hidden away, which is still on a well-walked path, it just looks kind of cool in the forest. But also to have one that's incredibly obvious somewhere, in maybe the parking ride, just as, Commissioner Frazier had mentioned before. Put one in the parking ride with a number 3 on it, so that people will go, where's number 1 and 2? And turn it into a treasure hunt of trying to find these these planks around the park. I think that would be an amazing feat.
I would agree. I think that creating little, just, cubes of them, sculptures with them around the city in various places and having that, story with it to go with would be the direction I think would be great. And then when you launch with your signage, you could have a treasure hunt for the whole community parties.
That could actually be something that we do when we put it up. We could actually make like a little website saying, find all of them.
So
There's 20 sets.
Japan has a thing where, you go to a place, they have a little city hall, a little shrine, or whatever it is you're visiting. And they have like little stamps and stamp books that you can use to kind of, say that I found a thing, or I've been to the thing. And that could be one thing we could think of, if we do QR codes, would really like them to match somewhat the, things and not just be like plastic or and like metal, like, if we get them on wood, even if we just CNC mill them on cedar, but
I love the idea of stamps, and that's actually something that we might want to talk with, the, business owners downtown or uptown. Because I'm not sure if we would actually have to do those stamps, but it would also drive business to them for them to actually have the stamps the same. Stamp a Duvall passport kind
And people could download the passport, right? And business.
of, yeah. That's something that's very big in Japan. Japan does a lot of this where they have
That'd be, yeah.
treasure hunts and they have local businesses stamp their logo.
The chamber could run that.
Exactly, yeah. You can, that'd be something for the team.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely charming. I think that, yeah, when my kids were little, this is exactly what they would have loved, and even now.
I love the idea of a treasure. It's just,
And it gets people walking downtown. I mean, we have a nice downtown and people tend to gravitate towards their spots, either the tavern or the CC's or Twin Dragon, which is my spot. It'd be nice to have a walk around, look around town, find the other spots. That would be really something that I think that would work.
also drive, that people live in the parks, the trailheads, or wherever we put them.
We want to, oh, go ahead.
2 lines of thinking on this, so I think you have 10 cubes ultimately, and so you could either spread them in parks, which you have a little bit of a hazard of handling and touching and destruction, or you put them on walking paths and try to make some kind of walking route that includes, maybe the trail or downtown. Extends to Big Rock, where you really want to kind of stretch them out, right? To be able to kind of pull everybody in, but it's just the idea that, it could be a park center thing, or it could be a walking trail
That's true, yeah.
or anything. It might be a little safer on trails, is what I'm saying, it's a little better travel. Either way, you take a little bit of a hazard, but that's okay, it's part of the deal.
Do we want to go ahead and just figure out some locations for our next meeting and then add that to the agenda for that meeting?
Does it staff, do you have enough information for what to do with old planks as far as farming season?
I think so. I mean, as long as, I can relay back that we want to create, from what we have, I can have staff figure out how many cubes we can do. I mean, I think if at the next meeting you all came up with ideas about where around the city you would like them, I can figure out how many we have and then just by order of elimination, figure out where to put them. From a public works perspective, we want to make sure it's in a place that we can have, our parks department actually inspect them. So it has to be somewhere that's reasonably accessible for our parks team to go and make sure that they're not being damaged or vandalized.
And Mr. Tozer brought up a good point about, like, if you have it on a trail, for example, you create more accessibility to them. We did talk about little kids and things and families, making it where they can actually find out. Is a good idea, maybe one secret one, whereas like, where's that secret one, you know?
I would like a hidden one, it doesn't mean they all have to be.
Just one out in the woods.
And do they have to be, cubes? Are they specifically in sets of four, or maybe, we can get one of them if we do triangles?
They are in sets of
They
four.
are sets of four.
Yeah, 'cause I think we talked about breaking the top and the bottom,
Yeah,
so you'd have two, a whole set.
Yeah.
Make one.
no, I don't know if anybody went and saw the trolls that were out on the walking trails. There was one in Issaquah. The big wooden sculptures that were done over the summer, they were very.
The town that I lived in, did a thing called First Night, which is something I would like for us to do, but it may be too big for our town, unfortunately. Where for January 31st, they would have an all-night city party. And one of the things they did, is the town-
Our community events coordinator is sitting here.
the town that I was in was a college town, big college. So I would love for our town to do it. I don't know if we have the resources for it, but one of the things that they did was because it was always below freezing there during winter, was put out ice sculptures that would stay there for like 2 weeks. They were beautiful. They were hidden all around town. Which I thought was really cool. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that here, but First Night is actually something that's on my list, but that's way down the line at this point.
Also a chance of getting that snow or ice stayed for more than like 3 days.
True. Anything further? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and close up the meeting.
Does anyone offhand remember the dimensions for the planks?
And they're 18 inches wide by 9 foot a section, so 18 foot total top and bottom. By 18 inches wide. Make it 2 inches thick. So your pole, you're gonna have to get them off the ground a foot or something like that. So your pole's gonna be 10 foot tall, probably.
Yeah,
Down
that's
on
what
it.
we're thinking.
If there's nothing further, I'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned at 6:43.